English translation 492nd contact. Easter Monday, 5th April 2010, 1407 hours.
Oh, happy visit. The surprise is successful because today I did not expect you, dear friend. But you are welcome, Ptah. And my greetings to you as well.
Which I return and owe to you. The reason why I come here today is because I have something to tell you that is important to you, but only for your ears. We also need to talk a bit about the whole thing.
Of course, but I would like to ask you to understand that I have to go over to the kitchen at 15 ER0Hers, because Marianne and Willem are coming over for some clarifications regarding the English translation of the Goblet of the Truth. To be honest, we are all glad when this work is done, because we have been fed up with it for a long time. It is simply impossible to make a translation that is worthy of the high value of the German language.
Even if we have not discussed everything by 15 AARs, it is not a problem because if you have to go over to the kitchen, I can wait here until you come back.
That is good, but at 16 hours I already have another appointment because one of my sisters and her husband are coming to visit. So I will have to rush off again and leave you alone.
What I have to say and discuss with you does not take very long because I think it will not take more than 20-30 minutes. But I will be happy to stay here and talk to you. I also assume that you will have some questions.
This is indeed so.
Then let us start our conversation by picking up on what we have to talk about together. The matter to be discussed is...
A meeting follows which lasts until 1446 airs.
Then that is all clear, although I think it is good to know the whole thing, so I can also deal with it. But now I should probably go over there because surely Marianne and Willem have already arrived. If you really want to wait, then I would be happy, and then we could talk, and I could also ask my questions. It will probably not take long, because Bernadette told me that there are only 2 or 3 questions to be answered concerning the translation.
Of course I will wait here, so I will still be here when you get back.
Okay, see ya. Well, here I am again, so it did not take very long.
The time was not long for me because I read in these writings. But now I would like to tell you that in relation to the events surrounding the Santorini outbreak, I found a spelling mistake in Volume 5 of the Contact Conversations on page 36, on the left, in the middle of the text, which you must correct. It is written in 3453 BC, which is wrong because it should be 1453 BC.
Ouch, if critics and troublemakers and other malefactors see this, they are going to try and rope me in again. I will inform Bernadette so she can correct the spelling mistake in the original. But speaking of the Santorini disaster, scientists claim to have found evidence that the Santorini volcano exploded around 1603 BC. New evidence is supposed to prove this by means of a carbon analysis, which was made of 2 pieces of trees from that time. It is also claimed that the tidal wave caused by the volcano explosion was only 30 meters high.
These are nonsensical claims that are not compatible with reality. In fact, the explosive destruction of the volcano Santorini took place in 1453 BC, and I am aware of the matter regarding the tree fragments found and the carbon analysis. But the tree fragments found are those that can be traced back to a severe eruption of the volcano Santorini about 150 years before the Great Catastrophe. Due to the gigantic ejections of the volcano, the trees from which the fragments originated were completely enclosed by falling volcanic material at the time and thus preserved, so to speak. Santorini was a very active volcano with many small and also with large eruptions, whereby several times also smaller and larger tidal waves were caused. Between 1500 and 1760 BC alone, we recorded 3 major eruptions. When the volcano exploded in 1453 BC, my great-great-grandfather Hylock witnessed and recorded everything. but the waters were piled up to a huge surge about 2,000 meters high, which, however, collapsed again and then moved at high speed as a 180-meter high tidal wave over the sea. This tidal wave then also reached Egypt and flooded everything up to very far into the country, whereby with the enormous tide also much pumice stone and various other things were washed into Egypt. In the process, countless living creatures of many different kinds were crushed and killed, also many human beings, whereby the Nile turned red. This was also due to the enormous masses of red algae that grew on the bottom of the Nile and were torn open by the raging waters of the tidal wave. Together with the blood of the countless shattered creatures, they contributed to the red coloration of the Nile. The killed creatures and the brackish waters led to swarms of billions of insects and all kinds of parasites, which caused epidemics.
Good. Your explanation says another time that our earthly scientists put together things that are not in accordance with reality. Then I would like to ask you the following. On television, they have a program about allergies. More and more human beings are suffering from it, and the whole thing is constantly expanding. Also, that allergies are becoming more and more life-threatening. Do you have any idea what the reason for that might be? The mission did not say anything else about it, so it is not clear what the reason for the rapid growth of allergies is. Could you explain something about this in simple and generally understandable words?
The reason for the ever-increasing number of allergies of all kinds is the excessive hygiene of Earth humans. It has been proven that the spread of allergies is a matter that mainly occurs in those states where excessive hygiene is maintained with daily or otherwise frequent showering and bathing, with special chemical cleaning and care products being added to the water. The pure water for hygiene care is harmless, but this is also only the case if the hygiene is maintained with moderation and intent. This also applies to the use of saunas. As a rule, however, chemical cleaning additives, etc., or an excess of natural additives are added to the water during showering, bathing, and washing. However, these have a very harmful effect on the whole body, not only internally, but also on the largest organ of the body, the skin. The reason for this can be explained as follows. The human body is inhabited inside and outside by billions of parasitic bacteria, which, however, perform a vital function for it and also strengthen and maintain the immune system. However, chemical and excessively natural detergents added to bath, shower or body wash water destroy the body parasites necessary for physical health and for the functioning of the immune system, causing it to collapse. The destruction of the immune system also occurs through surgical and medicinal interventions of various kinds in the body system, which serve the purpose of hygiene and body beautification. All these factors lead to an increasing number of allergies, many of which cause life-threatening reactions. So it is to say that too much hygienic care, such as showering, bathing, washing, sauna, and the use of chemical and excessive amounts of natural cleaning agents, contributes immensely to the development of allergies, because they destroy the immune system and at the same time make the body susceptible to many external influences. Among the agents destroying the immune system are also chemical and some natural skincare products as well as many perfumes, which are supposed to serve the purpose of body care, body beautification, and similar nonsense, but which really do destroy the immune system and organs. A reasonable amount of such products can of course be accepted, but all around the excessive use prevails, which causes organic damage that is also generally transferred to the offspring. As a result, more and more offspring are born who are afflicted with allergic hereditary damage and whose immune system is no longer fully functional. So it comes that the body's own defense is no longer able to neutralize all kinds of foreign substances of all kinds, which would normally be easy to process in a healthy immune system and organism. Thus, scents, gases, odors, and all kinds of substances from plants, living beings, and food alone become dangerous and often even very life-threatening factors when human beings react allergic to them. Of course, this also refers to purely toxic hazardous substances, such as known poisons from insects, amphibians, reptiles, and all kinds of animals, to which allergy sufferers react much more intensively and even endanger life than non-allergic people do. Basically, allergies are based on a change in the ability of the immune system to react to foreign substances that are actually absolutely harmless to the human organism and are tolerated when the organism and the immune system are in full health. However, if the organism and the immune system are damaged in their function, as is the case with abnormal hygiene, then the substances which are otherwise harmless to the organism are no longer tolerated and allergic reactions are triggered. In Earth humans, the above-mentioned organ and immune system damages are spreading more and more, which means that more and more offspring are also being born with these damages. The fact that the forms of allergies are also becoming more and more extensive and life-threatening, and that there are practically no more substances that are not effective for allergy sufferers, is not surprising when one considers the exuberant hygiene mania that is still being driven forward. That is the facts of the matter in simple terms.
We have talked before about how too much hygiene is unhealthy. But human beings do not want to listen when they are told what is correct and what is wrong. But look here. I read that brain researchers have found that religious and sectarian beliefs manipulate the brain and also circulate less blood to the brain than in human beings who are not under the delusion of faith. In addition, there are many good references on the internet at www. site d. 2005-20 Glauben for research into the faith of human beings. Whoever is interested in this should read the information on the internet. Do you have any knowledge regarding my question?
The religious and sectarian belief in God is based on a pathological delusion, which corresponds to a very widespread schizophrenic form. This delusion is also known to be hereditary and is located in the temporal lobes, from where it spreads its delusional madness via the brain and consciousness as well as via the world of thoughts, emotions, and psychology. The religiously schizophrenic belief in God, which without exception corresponds to a delusion, also influences the activity of the heart and all organs in general, thus, of course, also the blood pressure and the blood flow through the bloodstream, which logically also affects the brain. Thus, it also results that the brain is actually less supplied with blood than in human beings who are not subject to a belief in God, idols, or any other religious or sectarian belief. In the case of religious or sectarian beliefs or delusions, the center of perception is also largely switched off, because the pathological schizophrenic delusion of faith suppresses orientation with regard to reality, respectively reality. This means that the orientation center is also largely switched off and irritated by the power of the delusion. But if the sense of orientation and perception is disturbed or even largely switched off, as in religious belief, then the boundary between the inner and outer world flickers and can no longer be controlled. As a result, the contours of both sides become so blurred that the boundary between the real and the unreal becomes blurred, and thus reality can no longer be perceived. As a result, the believing human being loses himself irrevocably in his delusion, through which false, Confused and unreal thoughts and feelings, as well as such psyche movements, make the delusional person believe that he is in absolute harmony with something completely unreal divine, which is wrongly assumed to be reality. The whole thing becomes especially apparent when religious delusional believers perform prayers, read or study so-called holy scriptures, or when they represent or also discuss their faith and religion in writing or in conversations.
One more question. Earlier, when it was, I do not remember, I was told that the ship known as Noah's Ark was roughly equivalent to the masses, as written in the Bible, for example. Could you perhaps tell me a little more precisely what the Ark looked like? A ship at that time?
You must not make a comparison between the forms of ships in use today and the Ark, because the Ark had no similarity with the forms in use today and also in ancient times. The information given in the Bible is wrong, which mentions 300 cubits length and 50 cubits width and 30 cubits height. The Ark was a large round structure, in the middle of which there was a building structure which took up about 1/6 of the total length, respectively, the diameter of the ship. The width of the ship is therefore wrongly handed down, because the diameter of the ship was uniform, because it was round, while the wrongly handed down measurements of the width concerned the building amidships. The ship was surrounded all around by a high wall, which is handed down as height. In the area where the Ark was built, there were large forests at that time.
The origin of history as told in the Bible is not true. Do you know where the legend actually comes from?
We know that I do. What has been put into the Bible regarding the Ark legend goes back to old Mesopotamian and Sumerian legends, which date back to a flood that happened about 100,000 years ago, and tell the story of a man named Noankadnosor and his family, who was in contact with extraterrestrials and survived the flood with his family and a small number of animals in an ark. So the legend has not in any way anything to do with the biblical story, because the legend is based on a looted property that goes back to the ancient peoples of Mesopotamia and Sumeria and their ancient sagas and legends.
Yeah, I remember what you told me about that. Somewhere there was the four-stream land with the so-called Garden of Eden, which was also stolen from the Mesopotamian and Sumerian legends and put into the Bible. The four-stream country was so called because the Euphrates, the Tigris, and the rivers Piro and Gihon, or whatever they were called, flowed through it. The four rivers flowed there somewhere into a delta, but today the Persian Gulf, respectively the Arabian Gulf, as it is also called, exists there. But as of today, in the year 2010, it was first created about 8,000 years ago by a tremendous natural catastrophe, in which, as in the case of the various other floods, tremendous wild waters surged for thousands of years, and even for more than 100,000 years. The term Sint has nothing to do with sin, as this was reinterpreted by the influence of the Church, but was reinterpreted again in the 20th century. You once explained to me that Sint in an old pre-Germanic language meant as much as mighty, whereby in connection with the old term vlut, respectively flood, Sintflut, respectively Sintflut, a mighty flood, had been created.
That is correct.
Then this is also clarified.
If you have no more questions,
No, I have no more questions.
then I want to say goodbye for today and say goodbye to you, Edward. If it is possible, then I would like us to turn towards the correction work next Saturday.
Then I will inform Bernadette. Goodbye, dear friend.